Gotta unmute your mic. Story of 2020. Hey, you're on mute. Unmute your mic. Welcome back to another edition of Project Next Generation Online. I am Aaron Sievers, technology librarian here at the Elmwood Park Public Library. And this is day 3 of our Project Next Generation TinkerCAD and 3D printing extravaganza that we've been doing for the last couple of weeks. So when we very first started, we walked through TinkerCAD.com, learning all the tricks to navigating it and starting with creating a new object, a new 3D object that could be printed on the 3D printer. Then last time around, we actually went ahead and started creating a new object. So whether you were following along with me or if you were just kind of doing your own thing, doesn't matter to me as long as you are enjoying it. But what I was working on was a rocket ship, much like this one that I made in the past. So I wanted to make a new version. I wanted to make, I don't know if it's necessarily better, but just like a slightly different version. So that's what we're doing today. We ended the last class just putting the finishing touches on the new rocket. And actually, that's what we still need to do. We need to put the finishing touches on the rocket. So I've got TinkerCAD open here. Right off the bat, this is how it opened my file. So I was a little bit like trying to figure out up from down, right? So remember, one of the first tips that we learned how to do was if you're ever in a weird view and you just want to go back to the default kind of top-down view, you can just click this home button right here. It looks like a little house and it's called home view. You click that and it takes you kind of back to something that looks a little bit more manageable. So I still need to zoom out a little bit because my rocket is huge. So I remember one of the last things that we did the last class was we put this green fin on the back. I don't know, we might want to make some changes to that. And we also cut out, the reason why it was looking at it from the bottom is because we were cutting out the rocket booster. And I can already see, maybe it's an illusion, but it kind of looks like the rocket booster cutout is off center a little bit. So let's start right there. Let's, oh boy, okay. So see how, here, take a look at my keyboard here. When I press I'm just nudging this object, this shape with left and right arrow keys. And when I press left, do you see how far it jumps? So that was another thing that I'm pretty sure we talked about last time. So I'm going to put it back to where it was. And I'm going to try again, but first I'm going to go down here to the snap grid. And I am going to... So you can adjust the snap grid. Do you want your objects on your grid to snap to every half inch, every quarter inch, every eighth of an inch, 16th, and so on? And you can get pretty low. 1/64th of an inch is pretty small, or you can just turn it off entirely. So a lot of times I just turn it off entirely. So I think that's what we're going to do. And now on the keyboard over here, we're going to try nudging it again with those arrow keys. And we're going to see, okay, so similar to last time, we were nudging objects and they were going the wrong way. So that's another tricky thing to manage. When you're looking at an object from a certain angle and you press the arrow keys, it might move in one direction. So last time we were trying to move that fin, we thought we were moving it up and down, but we were actually moving it in and out, so we had to kind of recalibrate. Okay, there, I can see it kind of moving now. We need to go up just a little bit, maybe to the right just a little bit. It's not quite. This might be something that we just let go of. I mean, I was about to make the joke, this isn't rocket science, but okay, so yeah, I think for today, in the interest of time, we will just kind of let that be. But I think, did we experiment with this? So, okay, this is a hole shape, and when we group it together, it's going to cut out, I believe it's a cone when we first started. So let's, actually, I'm curious. So I'm going to grab this, speaking of cones, I'm going to grab this black cone down here, It's red when I mouse over it. I'm just going to pull this down because, okay, this was I think this was the paraboloid shape, which is the same as our nose cone. And so the idea here is you want to plunge it as deeply into the booster as you can, but you want to watch out for this up here. Do you see how it's starting to like break through? So that's bad. We don't want that. So we want to go as deep as we can without seeing it come out the other side. So I think that's pretty good. Remember to look at your object in 3D. And I think we're just going to call it good on that front. So instead of grouping the whole thing together, I'm just going to group the booster together just to make sure that it looks good. So we'll check it out. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Let me deselect it so you can see better. Yes, that is what we wanted, right? It looks like a booster. Like fire could come out of the bottom of the fuselage. I believe is that called thrust? I don't know. Probably not. NASA probably would object to the term fire. But this isn't NASA. This is, I don't know. I don't have a clever acronym. I'm going to go full screen so we can get a little bit better view on what's going on here. So we need to put some finishing touches on. So when we were looking at our cool rocket that I made a while ago, you see some differences here. We've got some cool fins on the bottom of the wings. And also the thing that I can't remember exactly how I did it was the bottom of the wings next to the booster. I know this camera doesn't like to autofocus. They are not squared off like they are on my oops, that's not the view that I want. I mean, you can see there, but the wing shape is different. How about that one? Nope. All right, I'll stop switching cameras, but you get the idea. The bottom of we need something cool going on down here on the bottom of the wings. This just like straight line, that's not cutting it. It's not cool. So let's make it cool. I think the quickest way to do that would be to enlist the. Well, let's take a look. So what shape do we have? It almost looks like, if you look at this from the back, it almost looks like I just threw an extra triangle on the bottom of the wing. You can even almost see a seam. Boy, I wish I could get this camera to autofocus. Whoop, whoop. Okay. So you can almost see like a seam and a triangle right there. So I think that's what's going on. And it almost looks like I maybe took that same triangle from the fin and just duplicated it and turned it upside down. So I think I'm going to give that a shot. The more you can duplicate and reuse shapes, the faster you can work. So I like the idea of going with this roof shape because I like that it is, oh, you math students can correct me, but is that an equilateral triangle? All right, so we're going to thin that out so it's more of a triangle, less of a roof, more of a triangle. And right, so now we need to kind of resize it, reorient it, and attach it. So we kind of want it to go, oh, that could be kind of cool. Whoa, man, that could be cool. All right, yeah, rather than straight up copy our old design, let's do something new and cool. So we're gonna put, what do you think? Does that look weird? I got a better idea. We're gonna stick with the same idea, but we're gonna flip it. So we want to grab these arrows right here. We're gonna go 180. Whoop, 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 right there. And I don't know. Do you think is that dumb? I think it'd be cool. I think maybe if we shrink it just a little bit. And we got to be careful when we shrink things that they resize uniformly. And since this shape is already on the small side, things start to get tricky. So we'll zoom in to give ourselves a little bit more room to work. And let's move that out of the way so we can see better. And so click on the white box, hold the shift key on the keyboard to make sure everything resizes proportionately. And then let's size it down a bit. Whoop. So it's running into a little bit of an issue where I'm moving my mouse. If I cross a certain plane, it reverses direction. So that's why it kind of got squirrely on me there for a second. I think that's cool. I'm actually going to make it a little bigger. Whoa, not that big. Okay. All right. We're going to call that good. That seems good. Now, normally, I think I would probably tell you to use the work plane and try to attach this shape to the blue shape here using the work plane tool. But we're so close to where we want it to be that I think we're just going to eyeball it. We need to do a top-down view and pull this out so that it's right on the edge of the wing. And then I think we can just grab the black cone to lift it up and down, and we can just go straight up with it. And then from the side view, I think we're going to want to move it inward. And I'm just using the arrow keys to nudge it in. Oop, I went a little too far. To get a better view, we're going to zoom, and we're going to hold the shift key and right click to pan the camera. If you're working on a trackpad, that's shift key and a 2-finger tap. And now, zoomed way in like this, we can pretty much... I would like the top seam of the triangle to not interfere too much with the bottom. You know what I'm saying? Like right here. We want to be careful about this area right here. So as we nudge inward and outward, we can control that. See how it breaks through eventually? And this is all totally up to you. This is your design choice. I think I want to hide that seam and just have it be like right like that. I think that's pretty cool. I'm going to zoom out and spin it because I don't think it's quite centered. We want it to be, we want to move it kind of this way, so I'm going to nudge it just a bit. I'm thinking that's looking pretty cool, right? Let's see. Maybe not cool, maybe just different. And that's all I want. I want it to be a different rocket than the first rocket. So we'll duplicate the exact same thing. So for this, remember last time, we hit this duplicate button up here, and it just makes an exact replica of that shape. And it makes that exact replica right on top of the old shape, which can be a little bit confusing. But it's there. There are two shapes overlapping each other right now. So if I nudge, hold down the up key, you can see the two shapes are starting to separate. And I just want to move that straight off to the other side of the to the other wing. And so it's going pretty slow, but if you use your keyboard again, oh, I just made that view go away. I think it's the shift key, and then it will really take off. So what I'm doing over here is I am holding down the, you can do it on either side of the keyboard, I'm just using one hand. Shift key held down and the up arrow, and that thing is moving off to the races. So let me zoom out a little bit so we can watch it, because it's going to go through. It's going to go through our rocket. I'm going to pan the camera just a little bit so we can see that other wing. That's a good view. We still got the triangle selected. You can kind of see it down in the, I'm pointing at the screen. Here, let me use my pointer. You can see it down here, still highlighted, so you want to make sure you don't accidentally click off of it. Hold the shift key, hold the up key, and watch it go. Moving, moving, moving. Get that triangle moving. All right, here it comes. It's about to burst out the other side, and then we will stop it. We'll zoom in. We'll swing the camera around, and we'll zoom in. Whoa! And we'll get it, because we want to do the same thing that we did with that other one. We're going to pan the camera like we did before. Get it nice and centered. Zoom in. Get it nice and centered. And so now we're in the same boat. But a little bit weird, since we moved the camera all around, I don't really know which way, when I press the arrow key on the keyboard, I don't really know which way it's going to nudge it. So this is trial and error. So yeah, when I pressed the up key, it started to move back towards the booster, so I pressed the down key and now it's moving out. And we just want to get it right there. Move back just a little bit. I think that is pretty good. All right, so now we got some pretty interesting new fins on the bottom of our wings. I'm into it. How are we doing on time? All right, we're doing great on time. So I'm thinking, let's keep going. Let's get the so yeah, I was talking about it earlier. Let's get the little bit of more. Is that a thing? Let's get some more detail going on the bottom of those wings. Sorry, we're getting started a little bit earlier today, and I have only had half a cup of coffee instead of a full cup of coffee. And if you know me at all, you'll know that that's a big deal. All right, so I'm going to pull in this wedge shape, and we'll shrink this down. Actually, you know what would be kind of cool? Since we're going to use a wedge shape, and we already have this wedge shape, and we want to make sure that this new wedge, here, I'll just do a real quick version so you can kind of see what I'm thinking. We're going to bring in a wedge, we're going to flip it upside down, kind of like this, and we're either going to attach it like that, or we could attach it, we'll probably attach it like that. Push it down. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Not that big. We'll scale it down. But I'm thinking the best way to do this, where everything is going to line up perfectly, everything will be the same thickness, it'll be like almost having an extension off the existing wing, is to do that trick that we just did a minute ago. So I'm going to delete that new piece that I brought in. We're going to grab this wedge piece over here. This is already the wing, and it's already the perfect thickness. We've already done all the work to it. So we're going to duplicate it, and we're going to just pull down. Come on. Oh, see, I'm nudging it. Oh, okay. So that's what I was talking about. Based on that camera angle, I was pressing the down key because I wanted the arrow to move down. But the based on the way I had my camera angle, the down key was moving it away. So you got to watch out for that. So I can already see I kind of messed this up. I'm going to hit the undo button and have it go back to where it started from, and then maybe a better thing to do would be just to grab the black cone so that we know it's only moving up and down, and then just kind of drop it down a bit like that. So obviously we don't want two wings. I mean, you can do two wings. That's pretty rad actually, but for what I'm trying to do, I'm gonna have to shrink this down quite a bit, flip it and rotate it. But the most important thing to me, the reason I'm doing it this way, is because this new wing is the exact same width, and it is perfectly lined up. So that really is gonna make things easier for everything else. So first thing I want to do is I want to rotate this, because this is not the orientation that I was thinking. So I'm looking for, I bet you it's at the top. I'm looking for the rotating, there it is. I couldn't see it because it's kind of dark. Looking for the black curved arrow, which is kind of hiding up here. It was difficult to see. I'm going to grab that, and I'm just going to flip this thing around 90 degrees. I think we're going to have to do a double whammy here. No. Okay. Sorry, you kind of have to like flip it around and see how you want it to fit together. And I think we landed on it there in the end. We flipped it. I think that's like straight up upside down, right? Okay. Now let's drop it down. Oh, look at that. See how it fits perfect? Everything is all lined up and it fits perfectly together. That's because we duplicated that shape, and they are all right on that same plane, and it's all just like perfect, right? For the most part. All right, so next thing I want to do is, as cool as that looks, it's a little extreme, so I'm going to shrink it down, and to do that, we need to grab this top piece, this top white box, and we'll just pull it down like that. I'd love to grab the bottom and pull it up, but I didn't see a box there. Oh, so I nudged it. It went the wrong way again. We're going to undo. All right, I'm actually just going to double undo just to make sure I got that right. All right, so I'm going to shrink that down, and then I'm going to grab the black cone and just pull it right back up. Make it a little bit more sensible, right? So I would love it if the bottom tip of this triangle right here was level with the work plane, which is right there. Because you can see on this guy that the bottom tips of the wing touch the table as well, and that's kind of what I'm going for as well. So let's see if we can do that. So unfortunately, there's no white box at the tip at this tip. I wonder if that's because I turned it upside down. So we're just gonna keep shrinking it and lifting it. And if we shrink it too much, then So, you see how that number right there turned to 0? Now we know that that edge is right in line. But it's still a little bit too tall. And I say that because when you look at it from over here, it's sticking out. So I would like to shrink it just a little bit more. Don't even need to do it a whole lot. And then lift it up. Oh. Well, now maybe I can, now that I've got that bottom corner set, now I can kind of finesse it. Cool. All right, so also noticing here that since, so those, let me zoom right, oh, see, all right, I see a little gap there. See that gap? Just ever so slightly, I'll zoom way in. So there's a gap. We'd like to close that gap. So I'm going to grab this white box, close the gap a little bit. There is a little bit of a seam there, or there will be when it prints, because those two shapes are joined together. So I was kind of thinking that maybe we'll use our green fin to cover that up a little bit. So I think we're going to use the nudge tool. The nudge on the keyboard. So we'll try this and we'll just nudge it out. And we'll go until you can't see any more blue. I'm getting excited about this. This is looking cool. Alright, so now let's take a look down here. How's that look? Because I would like these two shapes to kind of glom together really sleek, really smoothly, so there's not much of a seam. I think that's looking pretty good. And what about this top? Alright, so now the only other thing, whoa, we're inside. Okay, the only other thing that we want to do now is let's maybe drop this down so that we can kind of reduce the lip right here, kind of the where it juts out. So let's see, did it again. I nudged in the wrong direction. Alright, so that's, once again, we need to just use that black cone. That is where it's at when you just want to move an object up and down. So let's just grab that and move it down until, yeah. Alright, that's looking good from here. Let's check it out for some other angles. Zoom in. Whoa. Oh, we are, okay, all right. Can be difficult sometimes. All right, so we do still have a little bit of a lip. Well, I know how we can get rid of that. Maybe we will save that for like a finishing touch, because we still have some work to do. We need to duplicate everything we did over here on the other side. So I'm thinking the easiest way to do that would be, I know this is going to be shocking, but we're just going to delete that because we made changes to it and we want them to match perfectly. We want it to be symmetrical. So we're going to copy this piece right here, and we're going to do just like we did before. I'm going to push it through to the other side, only this time we're going to have to, when we get it in range over there, we're going to have to spin it around. So we're moving through, just transferring it to the other side. Moving, moving, moving. Triangles are moving. All right, once we kind of get it over there, now we need to make some changes to it. Because it's, oh shoot. All right, hold on. Undo. So we moved the whole thing. We forgot a very important step, which is to duplicate all of that. Let's try that again. So we just kind of moved the wing from one side to the other without duplicating it. That's bad. So now we have duplicated it, and now we're moving it. Doing great. Everybody's looking good. Okay. Once we get it over to the other side, take a look at it. Alright, so now you can see it. We'll zoom in. Zoom. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Alright, now we need to spin it right round. So we can grab this arrow, and we're just going to spin it all the way around 180 degrees. And that's where this snapping, so I don't know if I showed you this last time, but you see these big increments of degrees. It will snap towards each one. As you move your mouse out into this circle, it will start snapping to the finer increments of degrees, and then if you move your mouse way out, you pretty much have total control. So I would love it to snap directly to 180 degrees so that I don't have to worry about messing that up. So I'm going to keep my mouse towards the middle of the radius of that circle and let go. Alright, that is looking good, but now you see we need to push this back. So we're going to move the camera to be in this direction. We still have everything selected. It's all looking good. So I should be able, and we'll see, if I can press the up arrow key and just nudge it back towards the booster. Yeah, there it goes. Sweet. Locking it in place. Alright, so now we can zoom in again and we can really take a closer look. Whoa, not that close. Take a closer look and finesse that to get it exactly the way we want it. I think that looks pretty good. Sometimes it can be hard to see when you've got the object still selected. So I'm going to click off that, deselect it, and spin around. Zoom in a little. It's too much. Wish there's a way to... Yeah, there does not appear to be a way to zoom in less. It's kind of... It goes to the... I got a click wheel. The wheel in my mouse clicks in certain increments, and so it seems like it goes to that. Oh no, okay, so I was nudging, but I have too much selected. Undo, undo. Okay. So this is a good situation where, here, let's break down what just happened. I wanted to select the bottom of the wing and the fin, but not the top of the wing. I drew a box, and I thought I did it correctly, but I selected too much. So this is a good example of when to use the alternate method for selecting stuff, which would be to, if you can see my keyboard, I'm going to hold down the shift key. Well, I'm going to click on my first object, and then I'm going to hold down the shift key and click on my second object. And now I know that only the things that I just selected are, only the things I just clicked on are selected. So now we can kind of finesse that. I feel like the, I'm going to try to, I got a bad angle here. I can't quite, because I think that this thing is hanging, yes. You see that little triangle right here? That means that it is hanging all over the edge. It also looks like it got shifted. I'm going to move it that way a little bit. I'm going to move it this way a little bit. I'm not loving that. You see that? No matter what I do, it doesn't quite sync up. I have this little lip here, or I have this little lip here. So something went wrong. probably with my nudging, my errant nudging. So I'm gonna let that go. It's really not a big deal. We're talking like a 64th of an inch right there. So I'm gonna let it go. We got more stuff to do. So let's back out, take a look, see how we're doing here. I think one of the things I would also like to do is I would like to bring the bottom of these. How are we doing on time? I should probably stop messing with this, huh? What do you think? Is it fine? It's probably fine. But I think it would look really cool if we could pull these down like this. Now, you know what? That wasn't that hard. It might have messed things up at the top here, but I think it was worth it. Yeah. So it's very easy in TinkerCAD to get very like fiddly with a lot of this stuff. You can spend a lot of time trying to perfect things and make them perfect. The most important thing is just to remember your. Oh, see? See, I look on the bottom here, and there's a little piece of triangle sticking out, and I don't love that. So I think we need to. I think we can just grab the black cone and just lift it up so that that's hidden, and then we need to bring that back down. So as like, I mean, that's a perfect example of what I was saying of like, move your camera all around, check your design out from every angle, because things are gonna look awesome from one specific angle, and then you're gonna spin the camera around and be like, oh, why is that sticking out of that spot? That shouldn't be like that. So, all right, so we're gonna drop that down to 0, and then we're going to push it up to hide the tip of the triangle. Do we get it? Can't tell. Move that number. All right, I think that looks good. And then we need to just fine-tune that. All right. I think I'm done messing with that. Okay. Whew. Okay, so what's left to do? Well, in the original version that I made, I did make like a little bit of our cockpit at the top here. It's hard to see, but it is a little bit of a bump out. And then I also put some, I don't know what you call those, air intakes or thrust nodules or something like that on the sides. Those were paraboloids that I used. So I was kind of thinking of doing something similar. I've been looking at this thing that's just hanging out here, and I was thinking what we could do is maybe attach it. Can we try using the work plane tool? We haven't used the work plane tool much here. But I was thinking we could. See, now that is an issue. So maybe the work plane tool isn't going to work very well for us here right now. And the reason for that is because when you look at the surface of this paraboloid, it's not perfectly smooth. It does have like a kind of a grid on it. So when the work plane tool is active, it wants to attach to one of those nodes on the grid. So if you can't get it perfectly lined up, which would be right on the edge, then it's going to skew ever so slightly. Really not a huge deal, but all things, if it's not going to be perfect, then I'm kind of like, why use the work plane tool? So let's raise this thing up. We'll do it by hand. I'm not a fan, but the work plane tool isn't going to do us any huge favors in this respect. But I was thinking about putting this thing right on the front of the rocket, like it's some kind of cockpit, but we need to shrink it down. So we're going to hold that shift key and grab the white box to shrink it uniformly. I'm not really sure how big we want to make it. That might be a little on the small side. No, you know what? I think that might be a little on the perfect side. All right, so when we zoom in and we take a look here, it is kind of sticking off in a weird direction. So what I would love to do is we'll do a side view, and we're going to kind of tilt this thing in just a little bit. Where's my arrow key? My arrow. Oh, there it is. It was hovering up above. All right, so we're just going to tilt that in. Now remember, if you want finer control, if you want finer control over the movement, then you want to keep your mouse outside of this circle, because if you go in, it starts to sync to those increments, and that's not what we want. So this is going to take some fine tuning for sure. I think maybe what we'll do is we'll zoom in and pan the camera a little bit more so we can get a better view of what's going on here. All right, so boy, that number just wants to be right where my mouse wants to be, and I don't really want to click on it, but it's not giving me a whole lot of a choice. I think maybe we need to just move the camera ever so slightly. All right, that kind of worked. All right, so this is going to be a process, but because now, unfortunately, oh, you know what? This is definitely a situation where the work plane could be handy. I say could because I'm not 100% sure if this is going to work the way I want it to. But if we put the work plane here and then select this, we can use this tool to move it in and out. And I think that might give us what we want. Kind of looking for like a triangular cockpit shape here. But the key is going to be to sink the bottom in as well. So I think what we're going to do, this is going to look weird when I do it, but I think we're going to plunge this thing in until the bottom, until you can't see the bottom. And then we're going to rotate it back out if we can. I can't even see. I think we need to turn the work plane off. And now try rotating it. Oh. Okay, that didn't work. But you can see it in there. It's just kind of swinging around in there. So that didn't work. So let's just hit the undo button a couple times here. I think maybe what we'll do is kind of like landing an airplane. We're going to, not that I have any experience landing airplanes, but we're going to nose up and we're going to bring it in like that. That might do it. Let's take a look. It's closer. It's closer. Let's do it again. Same thing. Oh, we still have a little bit of nose up. So I don't think we need to go too extreme here. So now let's just try to keep on pushing it. We're going to lose a little bit of detail here, but I think, gosh, it's hard to tell. I can't tell if that's going to work or not. I don't know. I am not in love with it. So, here's what we're going to do. We're going to put the work plane right here on the tip. So, remember we were talking about how the paraboloid is, kind of messes with the work plane because it's hard to like get it to sync. The triangle that we just put is nice and flat, or the pyramid shape. So we're just going to put the work plane right there. We're going to grab a sphere, and we're going to drop that sphere right on top. And you're probably thinking right now, what are you doing? But if I remember correctly, the cockpit that we put in the old rocket was a sphere. And we just smashed it and squashed it until it was the right size and shape. And then, so maybe we can, this will be kind of like a combination of the two. So, let's see, I think we can give it a little tilt. And grab that black cone, plunge it in. What do you think? I don't know. Kind of a combination of the two. Center it a little bit. I'm going to say that's all right. Kind of cool. Kind of different. There you go. Kind of different. I'll take kind of different. Okay, so what else do we want to do to this thing before we call it quits? We should probably start wrapping it up here in a minute. So, one of the last things I wanted to explore, we got kind of a cool top fin. We got interesting, whatever you want to call that. But if you remember, one of the things that was bugging me was the little lip here. And there actually is a fairly easy way to take care of this. If I could just get it centered up on my camera here. Sometimes you got to fight the camera a little bit, but there we go. Okay, so there actually could be a pretty easy way to take care of this thing. So we're going to grab a box. We're going to just go ahead and select the whole box. But remember, whenever you grab a box or any shape, you can always change it up here in the shape properties into a hole. So, but that's just kind of a shortcut to save you time. But the first thing I need to do is I need to place the work plane. And I'm going to place it right on the edge of this wing. And then I'm going to bring in that box. And that box is going to go right on the edge of this wing. And then I'm going to group the three of them all together. When I do that, zoom in and take a look and make sure it worked the way we wanted it to. But when I do that, it should have just snipped off that little bit of a corner. You can see better if I deselect it. Select, click on something else, anything else. There we go. So now it's not perfect, but it does look a little bit better. And you can see, so you can see that box actually snipped off. It snipped it off until about right here. It trimmed it, just kind of shaved off the edge. So actually, so now I've got a lip right there. So let's just, you know, if we're gonna do it, let's do it right. So that worked, but the box was too small. So what do you say we just make the box slightly bigger? So we just click on that box and just stretch that edge to cover the whole wing, so that when it shaves off the whole thing all the way. And so now this is an example of how you can use these hole shapes to like cut things up, shave things off. So now zoom in, take a look at that edge, just deselect it so that it looks a little bit, I swear sometimes it just doesn't want to deselect. There we go. Take a look at that edge and make sure that that's looking good. Look at that. Oh, it's beveled. It looks beautiful. That's cool. So it's such a small detail that it's going to be very difficult for anyone to notice, but it's going to look cool. All right, so we're going to do the same thing over here. Should just take a second. We'll zoom out. This should be a little bit easier. We're going to place that work plane right on the edge of the wing so that the work plane is right there. And we just put a big box, just make sure it covers the whole thing. Then we're going to zoom out, find a new angle so we can select it to group it. Group it. Turn the work plane tool back. Take a look. Zoom in on that. All right. I think in the interest of time, we're going to call it here because I want to show you what comes next. So if you're following along at home and you've made your own rocket or you made your own design of whatever it might be, and you're like, this is cool, I want to print this on a 3D printer, first thing you need to do is select the entire thing and group it so that it is all one shape. Okay, so now, very important about the 3D printer, everybody always wants to know about the color. So the color that is on your screen does not matter. I can change this and be whatever a color I want it to be. It doesn't matter. Because when I go to print it on the 3D printer, I have to load filament in. And you know what? I think I showed you on the first day. I'm grabbing some filament. We're going to do some show and tell. Okay, on the first day, I think you were watching that COVID, that what have we been up to kind of video where I talked about all the 3D printing that we did during the pandemic, the continuing pandemic. We used this plastic filament in the 3D printer. So it comes in rolls like this. These are actually the smaller rolls. But this is it. And so your object prints out in one color. There are fancier printers in the world that can print in multiple colors, but our printer only prints in one color. So that is important. You have to decide if this rocket was just going to come out in one color, what color would I want it to be? So what's your base color? Alternatively, you can have it print out in white or gray or some kind of neutral color, and then you can paint it. And I've seen a couple of patrons have printed, one patron has printed stuff on the 3D printer, and then he painted it, and it looked awesome. So that's a route too. If you wanted it to be like multiple colors and have the wings be different colors and the booster and paint some orange fire coming out of the booster, you could do that, but it's going to print in one color, and then you're going to paint it. I don't know what the best kind of paint is to use. I've never actually tried that myself. So, but there should be a lot of information out there in the world about such a thing. And I don't really think you need like specialty paint. This is just kind of boring plastic. So I think you can pretty much use whatever you want, barring like watercolor or something, you know? Okay, so you're going to group your object together. It's going to turn all the same color, and you're going to be okay with that because it is okay. And then you're going to go up here. Let me get my head out of the way. You're going to go up here to the export button, and you're going to give that a click. And you can choose to export everything that is on your work plane, or you can choose to export the selected shape. So if you've got a bunch of stuff, like remember how I had that, that pyramid just kind of sitting off to the side for pretty much the last two classes. If I ended up not ever using that pyramid and it was still sitting there, I wouldn't want to print it. It was just kind of spare stuff. So I would say usually go with the selected shape and make sure you have the proper shape selected. So that I want my rocket. Okay. And then I want a .stl. Okay. And that's pretty much it from right there. It's going to download it to my downloads folder. So if you're, depending on which browser it is, it might look a little bit different, but if you go to your downloads folder, which, I'm still in full screen mode, let me out. Okay, so if you go to your downloads folder, you'll see it here. And Windows is, the new version of Windows is pretty good about recognizing 3D objects. You're definitely going to want to change the name. And what I would love for you to do is to put your name, doesn't even have to be your full name, and actually, more importantly than your name, no offense, is the color that you would like to use. So if you want like red or orange or yellow, let me know. If you can't decide on a color, you can ask me and I can tell you what colors we have available. They change ever so frequently, and sometimes we have fun specialty colors like glow in the dark. So you're going to put in the color that you want. Red. You know what? The old one is yellow, so let's do orange. And then I'm going to put in my name, and then you can put in whatever else you want. Like, it's a rocket. Okay. And that is it. That is the file. It's properly labeled. It's good to go. That is the file that you are going to email to me. So if you are actually like interested in doing this, go to our website, elmwoodparklibrary.org, and you go to the, make this full screen, you go to the How Do I page, and then you go to the 3D printing page. So that's, we'll walk you through it. Go to How Do I, and then go to 3D printing. And this is everything you need to know. So here's my email address. You can get in touch with me, and we can talk about like. So usually I'm probably going to come back to you with, if you don't already provide it, I'm probably going to come back to you with 2 questions. One is, what color do you want your object to be? So if you didn't put it in your file name or you didn't mention it in your email, I'm going to say, okay, what color do you want this to be? And the second question I'm going to ask you is, does it need to be, how big does it need to be? And usually the default answer is as big as you can make it. Make it huge. Well, our build platform on our biggest printer is 7 by 7 by 7. So it's big, but it's not that big. You can see it in the picture here. So this is one of the biggest objects we've ever printed. It took almost 24 hours to print. It was big to me, but it may not be big to you. So adjust your expectations accordingly. Okay, so those are kind of the 2 big questions that I'll have. Make sure it's a .stl file. So another thing that some people are going to want to try to figure out on their own is, so do we have enough time for this? Yeah. All right, let's get into it. All right, so when you send it to me, then I take that file, I load it into a certain piece of software, and I send it. We have a MakerBot printer, not this one. This is the new ridiculous one. We have, I don't even think they sell our printer anymore, so I can't even show you a picture of it. But it's a MakerBot Replicator 5th generation. It's about 7 years old now, so I think we might be due for a new 3D printer maybe next year, but we'll see if the budget can support that. But I'm going to, before I send it to our 3D printer, I'm going to load it up in this software. And you can do this from home too if you want to kind of check it out. You won't be able to send it to the printer, but you'll at least be able to see what the final step looks like. So if you go to the makerbot.com website and you go to support and then you go to software, you can download this piece of software called MakerBot Print. And what this does is it manages your printer if you have a printer, but it also lets you prep your files to be printed. So I went ahead and downloaded this already. So I haven't installed it yet, so I'll at least show you what that process is like. But we're going to go ahead and install this real fast, and then you'll kind of see what you're in for, what this looks like. It's pretty cool. So should just take a second. And while it is doing that, if it's going to take long, I'll show you something else. But otherwise, maybe I'll just be quiet for a second and have a drink of water. I've been talking for an hour straight, so I need a drink of water. Okay, this is progressing quite quickly. Or it was. Maybe I jinxed it. Alright, so as long as this thing doesn't say, good job, you installed the software, now restart your computer, we should be in business. Hopefully, I don't think it requires a restart, but we'll find out in just a moment. The other thing that I was going to show you, and maybe we'll just take a quick peek at it, is there is a website called thingiverse.com, and it is affiliated with MakerBot. This is a very cool website where people post things that they have designed, kind of like how we just designed that rocket ship in TinkerCAD. Things that they design, they post here, and you can download them for free. So like, here's a mobile phone stand. This is very, very easy. I should say it's a very simple design. Designed to hold up your phone while you're, doing whatever, while you're watching PNG online. And so you can see that this, right here under licensing, this is that CC logo means it is licensed under Creative Commons with attribution. So that means that we can go out and we can use this, and as long as we give attribution, as long as we attribute like, hey, this is a mobile phone design by Grayling J77, then we can kind of do whatever we want with it. I don't know that you should be selling it, but like if you were gonna like crank a bunch out on the 3D printer and try to sell it, that's probably a no-no. But like, you're free to download it, check it out, and what I like the most about this is if I go ahead and download this, and if you like the design, you can throw the designer a little bit of a tip. So it goes and downloads it, goes to your downloads folder, and ooh, MakerBot Print has successfully installed. All right, so we'll save that for just a sec. I just want to show you. Really, so here's the files that we just downloaded. They're a zip file, so I'm going to extract them really quickly. Just take a second. And get in here. Okay, so here's the file. So that is a .stl file. So if we were just like, man, I want this stand, no changes, let's go. We could load it right into the MakerBot program that we just downloaded. Or if we did want to make some changes, we could go back to TinkerCAD and let's see, I'm going to go back to the dashboard, main screen. Give it a second. I'm going to create a new design. I'm going to import, and I'm going to point TinkerCAD at my downloads folder and say, let's check out this mobile phone stand. Open it up. Now it's right off the bat, it's saying, what scale do you want to make? Because you could scale it differently if you wanted to. I'm going to stick with 100%. So I'm not going to mess with anything, and I'm going to go ahead and import it. And boom, that's the mobile phone stand that we were just looking at on Thingiverse. We have downloaded it and re-uploaded it to TinkerCAD. Because let's say like, I really like this mobile phone stand, it's pretty cool, but I wish there was a hole in the back where I could feed a cable through, right? I just want to make a quick modification. Oops, I don't want the cylinder yet, because we need to place the work plane tool right here, and we're just gonna put a hole right in the back, and we need one on this side as well. Oops, I got my camera. I should have changed my camera. Try that again. Work plane right here, cylinder. This is a bad camera angle. I am going against all my advice about moving the camera around. Okay, so now I'm going to punch 2 holes through each side of this thing, make my modification to somebody else's design, but I have now modified it and made it my own. I put some holes in it. And now I can go ahead and export that as a .stl file, and I can print that now with my own modifications. So that is something, usually when people come to the library and they want to print something that they downloaded from Thingiverse, I get a little bit disappointed because it's like, yeah, you found this cool design on Thingiverse, but you didn't, you just downloaded it and now I'm printing it for you. But if you're like, hey, I downloaded this thing on Thingiverse and then I like scaled it down and I added arms and legs, I don't know, that makes me super happy, and I'm like, whoa, that's awesome. Okay, but enough editorializing. So let's we are almost out of time, so let's go ahead and do this last leg. I want to show you MakerBot Print. So this is the program that interfaces with the 3D printer, and there are a lot of different kinds of programs out there like this. If you go back to the COVID video that I made, I start talking about slicers, and that is what these programs do. So you will need to make a MakerBot account to get the software up and running, but that's they're an okay company. They're not gonna steal your data. And I'm just looking to make sure that I don't have the overhead cam on so you can see me type in my password. I think we're okay. Now I can actually concentrate on getting the password correct. Okay, cool. All right. So right off the bat, it's down here in the corner. It's saying, do you want to add a printer? Because we are not currently hooked up to a printer. If you don't have a printer, which is totally normal, and our printer is actually not even here in the building right now, so I'm going to just say add an unconnected printer. And then it gives you a choice of all the different kinds of printers that they make. Now it's important to note that MakerBot Print only works with MakerBot printers. They're a little bit, it's a little bit of a closed ecosystem, which is one of the biggest complaints about MakerBot. So like you can only, you're only using this software to mess with their hardware, which is kind of a bummer. And if you have a different kind of printer, then it's more exciting because you have more choices on the type of slicing software that you can use. You can use basically whatever you want. But for our purposes, we have to stick with that. And for our purposes, we have a MakerBot 5th generation printer. So I'm going to select that. And what that does is it changes the size of the build platform and any of the other settings to say, okay, when we prepare this file, we're preparing it for a MakerBot 5th generation. Now, I'm going to go up to File. I'm going to click Insert File. I'm going to go to the Downloads folder, and I'm going to find my rocket, and I'm going to hit Open. And you're going to see right off the bat, it is going to bring that in. So it is looking like my rocket. All right, so we can spin this around a little bit. I'd like to change it. Whoop, not that way. Reset. I always get my X, Y, and Z axes mixed up. So you can place it anywhere you want on the build platform. It's always a really good idea to place it on the middle of, right in the center. And if you want, if you're one of those people that's like, make my object as big as you can, then you can go right here to the Scale menu and you can hit Scale to Max, and it will scale it to max. Now you're probably wondering why I want to, like, if I printed it on, like, let's say I printed it on its belly. So there's an easy way to do that, or I can just say, where are you? Orient, place face on build plate, and I can say place this face on the build plate, make it the bottom, and then maybe we'll do a quick spin 90 degrees, and now do arrange build plate and do scale to max. So now you can see it's way huge, but it is a little bit of a problem because it so here's the last thing that I'm going to show you how to do, and then we're going to get out of this. But when we go to do the estimate and preview, what you're going to see is something that looks very similar to, let's see if I can bring up, I got some pictures. Nope, where'd those go? Let me bring this off screen. You can watch this happen while I find those. I've got some examples, some great examples of what to do and what not to do for a, trying to think and navigate and do all this stuff. Okay, here we go. All right, so here's a cautionary tale. So these are, we're going to open up these. Okay, so here's an airplane, kind of like the rocket that we made before, right? When we designed it, this is just a screenshot, so I can't spin it around for you. But when we designed this airplane, it looked pretty good. One of the students designed it. But when we go to print it out, see, it has all these overhanging, like the wings are hanging off in midair. When you go to print it out, we printed it on its back, and it generated these auto supports to kind of hold it up. And so those can be, they snap off, they're temporary, but those can be kind of a pain in the butt. We have this elephant. This is one of my favorites that a student made. But right away, you can see things that are hanging in the middle of the air. And when we went to print it, it looked like that, okay? So a lot of times when you're designing an object, you want to keep this in mind, and you want to make something that is going to be able to print, because the 3D printer prints from the bottom up. So when we do something like this turtle that prints from the bottom up and does a tapering design, it prints out really well. So you're going to see that here with this rocket ship. So I'm going to show you exactly how this rocket is going to print And, oh, you know what? I forgot to turn on support, so we're going to have to regenerate this preview. Give me 1 sec. So in the settings, that's where we would turn on support so that things aren't printing in the middle of the air. But when you do that, then you're going to see, watch this progress bar intently, but you're going to see it's going to show you the path that the extruder is going to take and all of the supports that are going to have to be generated, and that is where the nightmare, the printing nightmare happens. So as soon as it gets up to 60, 70, 80, 90, 100%, I just want to show you this, and then I think we're going to call it a day. All right, in the meantime, while that's doing that, I want to give you a quick shout out for next week. So I think this is going to be the, oh, okay. All right, we got 100% preview estimate. I'll shut up. Maybe this will work. Come on, fingers crossed. I don't know what it's doing. All right, so while it's doing that, I just want to give you a shout out to next week. We are going to be done with 3D printing. We're going to open this Kano PC kit. So I got this box here. We're going to check this out and see what we can do with it. It's already it's ready to go, but we're going to cut the tape. We're going to open it up. We're going to see what this thing is all about and really check it out. So looking forward to that next Friday. Come back here. I think we'll start around 11 and we will get started with that. Okay, so check it out. The green is your design, my design, the rocket ship, and the yellow is all of the supports that are going to have to be generated to hold all of the things that are floating in midair. It is generating the preview, but see, even in the rocket booster. So, yeah, that's no good. So you want to avoid that. And usually I can avoid that by, here, now we'll show you, we'll play the whole animation as it goes up. Let's do all layers. There we go. See that? All that yellow is going to be support stuff that's going to have to be removed. So that is kind of a nightmare. So you want to avoid that. And usually you can avoid that simply by changing the way that your object is oriented on the build platform. That's all kind of a very long-winded way to say that. But, okay. That's all the time we've got for today. I think we need to wrap it up. But remember, tune in next time for the Kano kit. We're going to be checking that out. And then I think we've got a cool Halloween craft to do after that. So, thank you so much for watching if you stuck with us this long. And we will see you again real soon. All right. Bye, everyone.